Thank you so much, Chris, for that speech. So now we move over to the opposition, and opening the case tonight for the opposition is Mr. Judson Horras. Judson is the president and CEO of the North American Interfraternity Conference. After more than 18 years serving Beta Theta Pi, over 8 years as the administrative secretary, he took on this role in 2016 to lead the NIC into the future. He joins us all the way from Indianapolis, where he lives with his 2 children, Anna and Andrew, who he hopes will enjoy a more meaningful fraternity and sorority experience in the near future. Judson, you have the floor.
Wonderful remarks. As someone who works with college men, I nodded my head so much with you. But I want to share some perspectives and why I flew here. I really don't care who wins the debate. I don't. I came here tonight to talk about what I'm observing in college men and how it's changed over 20 years. I've worked with probably 25,000 different college men across most of North America. And what I observed over time, specifically, as I watched the academic performance of men through their grade reports plateau or drop, and the academic reports of females climb. The other thing that was subtle, and it took me a long time to see and understand, was we would do brotherhood retreats where we would talk about our feelings. And over time of the 20 years, boys were less and less willing to be vulnerable and cry with each other. Now, I couldn't put together what was going on because I'm just, frankly, a guy who works with fraternity guys. I'm not an expert. I'm a guy that works with a lot of different types of college men. Fortunately, 3 years ago, I was told by a colleague that I needed to read the book by Richard Reeves. And I believe anybody who cares about this topic tonight, and I think we all should care, and I agree with so much of what you said, should read this book. I'm going to cite a few statistics that Chris didn't mention, not to prove my point, but to show you what's going on with young men today. If you look at the high school graduating classes of high school boys, or high school graduates, men and women, the bottom 10% of the graduating class, 2/3 of it is made up by men. The top 10% of the graduating class, 1/3 of it is made up by men. There's a direct correlation between as the academic performance goes up, the percentage of men drops. In 1971, in the United States, we passed Title IX, which was a landmark legislation that our country needed to help create better equality on college campuses. At the time, for every 100 men that graduated from college, only 79 women graduated. There was a 21-point difference. As of 2022, for every 100 men that graduates from higher education in the United States, 143 women graduate. It has not only reversed to the same level, it is twice the gap that it was in 1971. And I want to be abundantly clear. The success of women is success for men, and this conversation is to pick up men and lift them up, and to pick up women and to say we have a lot of work in society still to do with women equality and women opportunity. That is not the point of the conversation. As Chris mentioned, we are 4-to-1 more likely to commit suicide. The rates have grown more for men than women during the mental health crisis. More likely to be addicted, more likely to have incarceration. You might be saying, why is he on this side of the bench? I want to tell you a story. I'm a dad of a daughter who's a senior in high school. She's graduating in 2 weeks. She's only had 5 homework assignments late in her whole life. I have a freshman son. He had to sit inside his room last Sunday to get his 5 homework assignments that were late from last week. My daughter works 3 nights a week, is so responsible. My son is a brilliant show choir performing theater. It is in those moments outside of the school structure where he shines, to the point where you have to understand, I played American football in high school, not soccer, American football, and I wrestled. I don't know if he's good or not on stage. I just know that he is in his moment and he is shining and the beauty of him is coming out to the point where I always cry and my daughter always laughs at me for crying to him. My daughter came down the stairs just 2 Saturdays ago in her prom dress. It was red, it was beautiful. And everyone said how beautiful she was, and instinctively she came up to me as her dad and said, "Daddy, how do I look?" Something in those moments tells me there is still a relationship there that is a bond between a dad and a daughter that is so important. Now, before you think too much of the stereotype, this week I told her, "Anna, before we put the jet ski in the lake, I need you to change the oil and change the spark plugs on it." Her response back to me is, "Dad, why am I the only one in the family that can do this the right way?" My son got out of the car this week and said, "I made the lead role in Cats, the summer play." He said, "Judd," and then he said, "Dad, I'm going to be the captain of the choral team next year." I got out of the car. Immediately, I gave him the world's biggest hug, and I said, "I love you, buddy. You are amazing." He said, "Thank you, Dad, for supporting me." And then I turned to him and I said, "There's 75 bags of mulch that have to get spread in the next hour before dark." I'm not so sure about all these masculinity terms. I'm just a Midwestern guy, right? I had to look it up on Google. And to tell you the truth, Google will tell you all kinds of different ways to define masculinity. But let's just use a few examples, because I think it's critical how you frame the discussion is how we help young men. If they are to be a provider and protector, it is important to teach boys and young men that providing and protecting is done in service to others for your selfless acts. It is not to provide and protect so you can control and manipulate someone. If you are to be strong and fit and, this masculine guy, there's nothing wrong with being healthy and fit in your life. But what's really important is learning this art of delaying your gratification and working out and staying on your diet. If it's about winning and acquiring and being a champion, okay, maybe when I work with boys, but I say the most important thing is the resiliency to fail 100 times before you succeed. If it's about dating, it's not about how many people you can acquire swipes right on or some trophy. It's actually the subtle art I have had to learn over time of what it's like to put yourself out there and be vulnerable that someone can reject you and keep going. And to find worth in yourself that someone would find worth in you. You see, those are traits of masculinity that defines the argument. You could just argue it one way or another. It is not appropriate to ever do violence against anyone, especially someone that you love. It is not appropriate to bully and harass or haze people. That is a form of arrogance that no one should do, whether it's in the context of a fraternity or in the context of a Mean Girls high school group. I think the argument, and this is my final point, I think the argument around masculinity is causing more of the problems than you can imagine, the way we frame it. I asked 27 people in Indiana, when they hear the word masculinity, what do they immediately think? 27 people. 24 people all said to me, "I don't know, it's not good, and it's toxic." I'm going to tell you right now, when you work with college boys and men, they look big and strong, but their brains are maturing slower than girls. They have a harder time understanding their emotions and articulating them. But one thing is for sure, when you talk at them and tell them they're bad, you can guarantee that they're going to put their head down and walk away. And you have lost the greatest opportunity to influence them. When we label them as toxic, and when we label them as these boorish men, certain behaviors from certain individuals certainly are. But what we have to do as a society to make a difference is laid out by Richard Reeves. The value and importance of adult male role models in the lives of boys and men. And it has to be a positive role model relationship. And I can tell you the only way that works is to get down on their level, to look them in the eye with empathy, not labeling, and to talk them through the real characteristics of being a man, and I would argue the real characteristics of being a human that we all should have. And so that's why I reject the whole damn debate that uses the word masculinity that immediately elicits from so many men toxic, you think I'm bad, and we use the word failure, and then we wonder why they don't show up to have honest discussions about their development, because they immediately feel like you have pushed them away. And we need to bring them in to solve this problem. Thank you very much.